continue on with the agenda. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please stand. Okay. So in special presentations, it looks like on March 10th, there will be a presentation, a preliminary presentation on the 25-26 budget, school year budget. On April 28th, there will also be the final budget presentation and hearing. On June 9th, there will be a goals recap of the current year, along with the board self-evaluation and goal setting. I'll have some more information regarding that. And then letter F, superintendent comments. Dr. Forte.
Thank you. We went to the Junior Honor Society induction at Valley View on January 30th. It was a very nice event. Mr. Kim spoke for a little while, and it was great to see the kids getting their due acknowledgement. The Anxious Generation, we do have 100 people signed up. So we have a decent crew. We have probably 20-ish people volunteering to be on the panel. So I have a call next week with Ms. Watkins, who's going to help us run this, facilitate this. And we'll look at the people on there and we'll figure out, it's going to be like 4 or 5 people on the panel, which is on April 22nd. And that we have to figure out, a good representation, good mix of people for that. February 21, mark your calendars. February 21, 5th grade lead graduation, 1:45 p.m., Riverview Annex. Again, that's February 21, grade 5 lead graduation, 1:45 p.m. in the Riverview Annex gym. And I have 3 important dates for the Ed Foundation, if you want to mark your calendars as well. On May 17th at 6:30 p.m., they will be hosting an event at X Golf. That's May 17, 7:30 p.m., X Golf. And movie night will be September 12th at 7 p.m. at Gardner Field. And the annual golf outing at the Knoll Country Club is set for October 16th. And that is my report for today.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. Assistant Superintendent comments. Dr. Cullis.
COGAT testing will be February 24th through 26th for second graders and February 27th and 28th for fifth graders. A Read Across America, the readers for guest readers, March 5th is Lakeview and March 7th is Riverview. I put Lakeview twice. So if any of you have been invited to guest read, you probably received a Google form and you can just fill it out and select your day and time in school. The new K-5 report cards rolled out on Friday. I've only actually heard one comment and it was good. So I don't know if anybody else has heard anything else about the new report cards, but it went out pretty smoothly. Everyone was able to get in and I haven't heard anything else, any difficulties with getting them. This concludes Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Cullis. Business Administrator comments. No comments. Okay, thank you, Ms. Kurowski. It is 7:34 p.m. We'll go ahead and open it up for public discussion. Seeing no one in the chambers and no one online, we'll go ahead and close public comments at 7:34. And the next item on the agenda is, excuse me one second. Old business, no action to be taken. Mrs. Adelis, can you walk us through that, please?
Yeah, absolutely can. So at the next meeting, myself or someone else will verify the following options for approval. The board reports for January 2025, the education reports for January 2025, and the minutes for the January 6th, 2025 and January 27th, 2025 meetings.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. Mr. Capello, under new business action to be taken, can you walk us through personnel, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to. If there are no objections under personnel, I would like to move items 1 through 5. They include new hires, resignations, retirements, employee leaves, extra pay and salary adjustments. The individual items include one resignation, a couple of talent show directors, home instruction item, a assistant softball coach, assistant baseball coach, a leave replacement teacher. Also under number 2, we have there's a series of leaves of absences, A, B, C, and D. 3 is the termination of employee 1424. 4 is we are rescinding motion 4A1C from December 16th. And finally, number 5, we're approving 1 substitute.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Agelis,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. Dr. Moore, can you walk us through instruction and program, please?
Sure. I'd like to move the following resolutions under instruction and program for approval. Under number 1, workshops and expenses, we have a virtual reading institute through Reading and Writing Project Network for the literacy coach position. Under item number 2, there's a Riverview parent, Matt Keown, to present his book, The Happy Heart. Under item number 3, we have approval of some Title III consortium purchases for Rockaway Borough.
Second.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I actually have a question about the Happy Heart book. What grades are those? Is that book targeting?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can ask and find out for you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Since there are no other questions, roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Agelis,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. All right. Under C, there are no actions to be taken. So D, finance, Mr. Anderson, if you will.
Sure. Under D Finance, I'd like to move the following 2 resolutions. The first one is to rescind resolution from December 16th, 2024, as noted on the agenda. And then item number 2 is to retroactively approve the following out-of-district placement per student's IEP, which is the same student referenced in item number 1.
I'll second.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Agelis,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. And E, operations, Mr. Cass, please.
I'm off the hook tonight. No action to be taken.
Forgive me, I didn't notice that. So,
Will not turn in my pay voucher for tonight.
okay, great. Yeah, there are no actions for E operations. So we'll move on with the agenda. New business, no action to be taken. Mr. Cabell, can you fire up your AI and give us a summary of your committee?
Sure, I absolutely can do that. Well, first I'll cover at the next meeting, I or someone else will be moving the items which currently exist under number 1. Right now, there are some items for new hires, resignations, retirements, employee leaves. Again, we'll be covering these at the next meeting. As far as we did have our IMP meeting this week, we covered some topics. One was the kindergarten registration update. Dr. Cullis provided the number of students that have been registered so far. One interesting statistic was that 72% of the families are the oldest children in the families. So they're first into the district. So that seems like a high number to me. We also talked a little bit about budget. Obviously, this is a tough budget year, so that the administration is working on that, looking at all the things that we may have to do as we go through the budget season. Dr. Cullis summarized for us the DALA program. It's being reduced from 5 weeks to 4 weeks this year due to budget constraints, and the price is increasing to $70 a week, $280 in total. We covered some policy, including one of note, which was the non-resident student policy changes. The tuition now has to be county approved, and it looks like we're not going to be able to give exceptions as we've done in the past. So if we have a family where they're moving out, or we would like to let these students stay until the end of the year, that's going to be much more difficult. My understanding is also the tuition cost would be going up. Dr. Forte is going to make a case to the county executive for keeping our current, I believe, Steve, it's $14,000. Like that's what you would argue to keep our tuition rate at?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. There's also some discussion of leadership coaching. One of our staff is doing that now, and Dr. Forte would like to continue that possibly for some of the rest of the leadership team. And we also covered some other policies on using AI in the classrooms. And Dr. Cullis is going to schedule tours for Mrs. Astorino and myself at Lakeview to look at class sizes. I believe that's the summary.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Okay. Next item on the agenda is IMP. Dr. Moore, can you walk us through the resolution for our next meeting, as well as anything else regarding IMP? I guess that was already done. So yes, if you could just walk us through the resolution.
Yes, next meeting, either myself or someone else will move for approval, item number 1 under resolutions for instruction and program, which is the field trip list.
Okay. All right. The next section, governance. We'll be voting on a bunch of policies during our next meeting for first reading. There are a few policies missing that was actually discussed during governance committee. So I'm going to work with Ms. Kurowski to get those policies on there. A couple of those policies were regarding just some outdated information. I believe one of the policies had our Morris Avenue address for our administrative office. So just simple things like that is what we went through. We also discussed a few other things. The first big news that I want to share with the board is that the name's Charlene is actually retiring. So she'll be retiring in May or June. So I have asked her if there's one more presentation that she can make before she retires. And so that brought up the conversation of maybe getting recertified as a board with school boards. So currently our 2 certifications with school boards are expired. The general board certification, as well as the Carol E. Larson Master Board certification, are both now expired. So I'm going to ask Ms. Peterson to present on just updates on board ethics. This is a presentation that she's doing for the Booton Board of Education, I believe, this month. So she has agreed to share that, but I haven't made it official yet. So once we have the date, it'll be one of the board meetings in April. I think it'll be the second one, but I'll work with Ms. Kurowski to get that on the calendar. We also talked about, I had a bunch of questions about board retreats, and just for public knowledge, board retreats are not like company retreats where they take you off somewhere for a weekend to maybe do some team building exercises. It's more a discussion of certain items, which could be unofficial, or it would still be an official meeting, but there'd be no voting that happens during the retreat. So I'm going to propose that we actually have our June 9th meeting earlier. Have that start at 6 p.m. And I'll have to work with school boards, but we'll also have to make that public too. So I'll work with Ms. Gorowski and see if that's possible. So if there's any board members that have a conflict or anything like that, please let me know. I think there were some other things Dr. Forte brought to our attention, that there's some school funding bills that are currently in Trenton and being reviewed or being proposed. So we'll bring more information as we get that. And there will be a couple of other resolutions that we will be proposing as well. There is one further thing. There will be a board evaluation tool that New Jersey school boards created, similar to the superintendent evaluation tool. So we can evaluate ourselves similarly to how we evaluate Dr. Forte using the school board's website. So that just that was just turned on last week. So I'm going to look to see if we can get that for our June meeting. So we'll have our review or our self-evaluation using that tool. So was there anything I missed? Andrea? Okay. After this meeting, I'll send out the agenda. I did forget to send the minutes for the committee, governance committee, to the rest of the board, but that's a basic summary. So any questions? Okay. Looks like under D, Finance, Mr. Anderson, is there anything for you to share with the board?
Sure. The Finance Committee will meet this Thursday. Primary topic will be to review the budget. Mrs. Gorowski and Dr. Forte have been working on it, as we've mentioned a few times already. Obviously, I think it's a little bit of a broken record. It's always a tough year as we try to balance ensuring we provide the same level of benefits, obviously, and the appropriate raises to our staff. I mentioned those two items because obviously those are significant drivers of our budget. And health benefits, particularly this year, is going to be a difficult one considering the increases. It feels like it's a roller coaster. We get a couple of years of decent increases and then a couple of years of really high increases. So appreciate the work that the business office and central administration have been doing, and look forward to having our meeting on Thursday. I will get those minutes out as soon as possible after the meeting, and then I'm sure it'll spur some discussion and conversation. I'll be available, as well as Mrs. Gorowski, I'm sure, if there's any questions. And that'll be a kind of a working session as we move forward on the budget. As far as the next meeting, myself or someone else will move forward with our typical bills list. And then the only other item we have thus far on the agenda is always a nice one, which is a donation of $2,500 of Acme gift cards from the Acme Markets Foundation. And then I'm sure we may have some additional items that are added before the next meeting.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Does any board member have questions for Mr. Anderson? Okay. Mr. Katz, it looks like there's nothing to review here as well. So unless you wish to say anything.
No, we're going to be meeting on Thursday. So, but just going back to the last meeting, if you had a chance to look at that referendum on Lakeview expansion from 1999, that was very good information to go back to help us kind of like, you can assess how it was handled back then and what the situation was back then. And also soon thereafter, when that addition was put on, the school was packed. So it was full to the brim when they finally did that. So I guess the whatever studies, demographics were done were not as accurate as they should have been.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Cass. Any questions for Mr. Cass? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the good cause. Committee reports, correspondence, discussion items, board meeting highlights, as well as any comments regarding classroom space considerations.
I have two things for the highlights. If anybody'd like to add anything, I have Just a reminder that on March 10th, we'll have the budget presentation. And the second thing is that Dr. Cullis reported that the new K-5 report cards were launched smoothly last month. Is that accurate?
Just an answer on the Happy Heart. It will be for all K through 5.
Thank you. I think those are good highlights for me, unless anyone wants to add more.
I had a couple of things under good for the cause. Tomorrow, February 11th at 7 o'clock, Congresswoman Cheryl is going to be having a town hall. And as some of you may know, she's running for governor. So I signed up for it. I emailed in some questions. They said they would take some questions from the floor. But, there's a lot of, in the news now, a lot of the candidates, both Republicans and Democrats, are running. So there are these little articles on what they stand, what they want to promote if they get elected. So what I'm going to talk about here is not in any of those resumes of what they want to do. So affordable housing is a big deal throughout the state, and starting to get a lot of kickback from a lot of districts on that, as we all know. So I asked, the questions I had was, why the builder's remedy, and also exempting urban areas from contributing to the affordable housing. And, why can't the state have legislation to pay for just affordable housing rather than, mowing down acres and acres of pristine woodland to put up these cluster houses? And the other thing, which we've also discussed at the town hall meetings and mentioned it here too, was that why do they not have any regulations regarding the environmental impact, the sewage impact, water, and also the schools? And all of a sudden you're talking about having to expand a school, build new schools, is a tremendous burden on the taxpayers. So, and the other thing I questioned, I don't know if she's going to answer these or not, is the de facto segregation lawsuit. And the solution would be, why can't we fix the schools that are not giving their kids a good education? So the other thing, I saw the minutes from the INP meeting, and the thing really caught my eye was the tuition approval. I guess it's the county superintendent. So whatever the districts charge now, which I would think would be thought out and fair, and probably would differ from district to district, then it has to go to the county for approvals to charge tuition to an out-of-district student. So I don't know if there was any additional detail on that, if the legislature actually passed that, if the school boards association, county level and state level were involved with that. Personally, I just see that as more bureaucratic nonsense, putting extra, and it's a non-funded mandate, because now our superintendent has to take time to get approval on it. And then you're going to, I know Steve has a great relationship with the people at the county, but if you get somebody that doesn't agree with you, you're going to have an arm wrestling match over something like that.
Yeah, the way Steve explained it to us in the committee meeting was this, I guess, had its genesis with some high school districts maybe in Bergen County and Essex and different places, and it had to do with the student athletes. And basically, I think letting student athletes go attend schools tuition free, and so there were some games being played basically. So it sounds like we're kind of paying the price for some of that.
So, I mean, where did the edict come from? The legislature? This is a law now?
Yeah, it was actually a bill that was passed. It was bipartisan too, supposedly.
I think it's a good move, because I've seen plenty of articles on the sports pages in high school where all of a sudden something's going elsewhere to play basketball or football, whatever the sport is. And, it could have very easily been taken care of by the New Jersey Scholastic Sports authority, organization, whatever they're called. And, you have to show right, you come to school, you have to show proof of residency. So if you're not a Denville resident or Tenafly, wherever it is, you can't go to school there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's an unintended effect. And the effect is basically that it's limiting our flexibility. We can't do some of the things that we've done in the past where we've given people, a little bit of grace. And also it sounds like the tuition that we would be required to charge would be much higher than it is now. At least is that accurate, Steve?
If they don't approve our tuition, then yes. But there is a part of the law that allows the board to make decisions for employees that's separate. So you can do different things for employees. But yeah, it's a bill. It's passed. It's requires you to set a tuition rate. It's typically your per pupil cost. The way we've done it to attract some people, we've given a little lower tuition rate, and we've brought in a few kids here and there, and it brings a few extra dollars into the district. So we're pretty happy with that. But I think it does have the genesis in some athletic. I saw some things about Camden County and Essex County specifically.
So they were letting these kids go to school for free because of their scholarship to college. So now they have to be charged.
I think that's the main reason why they're doing it.
Yeah, and we'll see how the Camden County and the other places that do it are going to come up with a real low amount of money for tuition.
I have a couple of things to bring up for the good of the cause. First and foremost, I'm really excited to announce that, as some of you may have seen, Dr. Forte is being awarded a Denville Good Scout Award this April. So mark your calendars, April 10th, 6 p.m. It's up at Winnebago Scout Reservation, which is up in Rockaway, not too far away. This award, I can speak because I was on the committee who helped pick the awardees. Obviously, Denville's full of incredible volunteers and individuals that go above and beyond every day. And really, that's why Dr. Forte was selected for his work above and beyond to help students and really support them outside of just his normal and everyday job of being a superintendent. Just the way he's been able to support them, whether it be financially to make sure that they have their needs met, but also educationally going above and beyond for particular students and families. So congratulations, Dr. Forte, and look forward to seeing you in April at the award.
Thank you, Mike.
Secondly, I just wanted to announce this past weekend, the Denville Education Foundation held their Sweetheart Dance. They had two of them, kindergarten through second grade and then third through fifth grade. Both were sold out events. I was able to attend them for a little while. Great event run by some incredible volunteers. So I'm glad that those events went off well. Dr. Forte mentioned there's a few other events coming up in particular. They're calling it kind of Spring Fling, which is a little bit of a golf event indoors at X Golf. If you guys haven't been there, it's an indoor golf facility opened recently in Denville over on Route 10. And also they're going to have a DJ and some food and whatnot. So not just golf, but nice little fundraiser event for the foundation. Remember, all the funds raised for the foundation go back to our students through teacher grants or district grants. So please, if you're able to support, they would appreciate it. And then the final thing I wanted to mention was I was actually over at Denville Community Church this Sunday for an event. And the pastor mentioned Dr. Forte's and the district's, I should say, book study of The Anxious Generation. And the really cool part about it was I was mentioned to Dr. Forte before the meeting, and he said he actually hadn't directly reached out to her. So she had heard about it. She spoke about it. She told the audience that was there about it. She said she was reading the book. She's about 3/4 of the way through it. She mentioned a couple things that she had read already in the book about it, and kind of almost invited the public to that event. So nice to see how that event is taking off. As Dr. Forte said, it sounds like we've got over 100 RSVPs. So just wanted to make a mention to it since I had just seen it the other day.
Thank you, Mike. Any other board members? There are one or two things that I have as well. I was part of the Morris County School Boards Association meeting and presentation. One of the updates that they had was that the election petitions are now going to increase to 25 signatures. So for those who might be looking to rerun, we now need 25 signatures. So I'm sure that won't be a big hurdle, but just wanted to bring that up. And it was an interesting session. There was presentations on onboarding and how some districts, what districts do for new board members, especially when they are so they're out of the loop. I mean, a lot of when we start when they start the term in January, we're already talking about budgets, new budgets, and stuff like that. So this meeting, this presentation was about how boards shared what they do in terms of onboarding new board members. So this is something that I'm looking to do, especially within governance. So you might see some additional or additions into the document that you can find in the board member shared folder on Google Drive. There's sort of like a Google Doc that has a link to all the things that we will need. There's documents that we'll need that's outlined by one of the policies, such as contracts and bylaws, et cetera, but other things that new board members might need. So we also brought back the directory, or I think Dr. Forte and Ms. Growski created a directory of all the board members with their cell phone numbers, et cetera. So that's also in the shared drive, and I'll link to that. It's on that Google Doc. So. One question I wanted to ask was with regards to the tuition. Was there a discussion of maybe ever increasing the tuition? Dr. Forte explained it very well in terms of why it's low to attract, but with the increased costs per student as well as the costs for special education, I'm wondering if we can have a conversation, or should we start a conversation of maybe increasing that tuition? So.
Just a note, if any of the students who pay tuition have additional services, that's tuition plus the price of the service.
Thank you.
So if they have speech or something like that, then they pay that cost of that program.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So for me, that's not something that I realized. So, and the last question I had was for Dr. Forte. You said that there's a bunch already for the panel on the anxious generation. Is there a board member present as well, or is that something that a board member even wants to participate in?
I reviewed them. I didn't see a board member on there, but I wouldn't say that a board member couldn't be on there. We're just looking for kind of a represent. I think we're going to have somebody from St. Clair's. They've offered it, and we have a good partnership with them. We'd like, at least one parent, one staff member. So I'm gonna have that call with the person next week, come up with some ideas and figure out what we think is the best route. But I don't think there's any reason why we can't have a board member on it.
So if there is a board member that would like to be part of that panel, that'd be great. So, and just reach out to Dr. Forte, and if there's room for additional panel member, then maybe we can have someone from the board on there. So. Okay, that's it for me. Any other board members that wish to share anything, or? Okay, so moving on to the agenda, we will open it up for public comments at 8:03 p.m. Seeing no one in the chambers and no one online, we'll go ahead and close public comments at 8:03 p.m. Will there be a need for another executive session after this meeting?
I can update you on the last thing we talked about in the first executive, if you'd like, the HIB case. I have some information.
Okay, so then let's go ahead and open it up for, we'll go into executive session at this time. Before we motion for executive, I will let the public know that we will no longer be voting after we adjourn or come out of executive, and we'll go straight to adjourning this meeting. So Dr. Moore, do you want to take us into executive?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss negotiations, legal, security, and personnel issues. Minutes of this session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? We are in executive at 8:05 PM.